I guess the $1,000,000 question, Nate, is who wants it more, Marysol or Adriana, to go from part-time to full-time? In my opinion, I think it's Adriana, and I'm gonna tell you why. So we have a segment on deck that is called, let me get the slide here. We have a segment called Flowers and Feedback, where we're going to give them their flowers, each cast member. And if there's something worth saying that is a little shady, we're going to give a little feedback, constructive criticism. So that way the episode is fun and nice and all those things. The next one, I can't wait to hear what you have to say about good old Adriana. Season 1, 2, and 3, all those years away, and then she became a part-timer. Oh, that is shocking. What do you think?
Yeah, I remember I got the announcement. It was October 30th, the cast announcement, and it said all the cast members, and then it said joined by Adriana Zamora, Marysol, Patton, and Keybright. And I was like, like I'm still shocked. I'm honestly still shocked. I feel like she brings so much. She has so many things going on. I don't know if you could tell the way you are for Larsa and for Adriana, but
oh, really? I had no idea.
I will blindly defend her.
Adriana.
Yeah, to the end of the earth. Adriana is like
Wow.
mine. Yeah, so I don't know, she has I don't know if she still does this actually, but she had the art dealing going on,
Mhm.
which I love to see. As I've said many times on this podcast, that I love art.
Design, yeah.
Yeah, so seeing her in that field, I love to see her singing career, her like family, her son. Where's her son? I want to see her son.
Mhm.
And you know, I just feel she has so much going for her, and I don't know why she is a friend of. It's like it gets me a little upset, but who knows? Next season, I'm always praying. I always have a post scheduled or like drafted that's saying Adriana is officially full time. I have it ready. All I have to do is click post. It's all set up.
You hear that, purveyors of pop? You hear that, Bravo? Well, do you think that's a opinion by you, or do you think a lot of people also feel like Adriana is bringing so much to the show and should get her mojito in this case? Do you think she should be taken from part-time to full-time?
Absolutely. I do think definitely she should be full time. I feel like she's really worked for it, but all the friends have worked for it, and
Mhm.
I make my dad watch the show with me sometimes, and he always says, "Poor Marysol, poor Adriana." They're I don't know the expression, like trailing them along, I guess. Like they,
Mm,
and I kind of think maybe that there's some method to that. There's some strategy to that. I feel like the fact that they're friends of and they all want to be full time makes them
yeah.
work that much harder to throw that drink or like sing that song or do
Oh,
whatever
no. Yeah.
they
I
yeah.
I guess the $1,000,000 question, Nate, is who wants it more, Marysol or Adriana, to go from part-time to full-time? In my opinion, I think it's Adriana, and I'm gonna tell you why. I think it's Adriana because she just wants to be on the damn show at all times. She would film all year long if she could. Whereas Marysol, I think, yes, who doesn't want that bump in the paycheck? Who doesn't want even the I guess the status of it or whatever, or the opportunity? But with Marysol, I feel like she's really done it well. And I think I guess they all say it up until they become full time, but I do think that Marlo had a point from Atlanta where you kind of can with this show kind of come in, make an impact, and then also build out all your other businesses and such,
Yeah.
and notoriety or whatever it is that you're trying to do. And I think Marysol has really learned how to do it, and you don't necessarily need to have all the attention on you. Sometimes all that attention could be where it gets into stories about marriages and finances. So Marysol, I think, while she would love to be and she deserves it, I think if you were to put money on it, is Adriana. She wants this. Okay, I'm gonna do flowers and feedback, but I'm gonna let you wrap up first. Just whatever you have to say about her, because my flowers and feedback is actually quite interesting with Adriana.
Okay, I'm excited to hear it. But yeah, so flowers, I said everything I needed to say. I like
Hmm.
everything. She just brings it. I don't have the words to even articulate it, but she brings it. I'm just gonna leave that there.
Hmm.
Feedback, I feel like she now I'm talking like Larsa, but I
I
feel
feel
like
like.
I I how can I say that differently? I think that's not really better, but I think that she sometimes prioritizes the show over her friendships, and I feel like
Mm,
sometimes she cares more about making a good show, which she does, and she kind of or maybe it's in the moment at least, she doesn't care or
mm,
doesn't recognize that she may be burning some bridges, and I don't know, I wish that her and Alexia could get back to the friendship that they had,
yeah.
and I feel like she wants that too, but I think she wants to have a good show more. So I
Hmm.
think that's her feedback. Maybe try to balance it out a little bit. And one thing you said earlier about making an impact and then making a whole brand from it, like what Marlo said, I think she's not in this segment because she's not a housewife anymore. But I think that Anna
Hmm.
Kinkosas really has done a good job with that. I mean, she was on one season in 2012, and she has made this whole brand, this whole like enterprise with Skinny Latina, and she I'm not to just go on follower count, but she has more followers than some of the housewives that are on the show today have. So I don't know how she did it. Maybe it's magic, but I want to give her flowers for that. But anyway, we go back to Adriana.
Real quick before you do, no, Anna is actually quite amazing. I agree. Yeah, she does fall on the side. I also thought she did a little bit of season 3. I don't,
Oh yeah, yeah,
but
yeah, yeah,
but season 2, she was definitely present. But she falls on the side of somewhat of an embarrassing moment, even though she was, at a higher frequency, let's say, by saying, I feel like my brain cells are being depleted. And then
yeah,
well, who invited you? She definitely sometimes I think is almost too cool for the show. Not like she thinks that she's too cool. I just think she has a lot to bring to the table that, like, sometimes the show isn't really about the amazingness. But you are right. She's made a lot out of it. And I remember really getting I had done a recap series at AfterBuzz where we would talk about the shows rather, and one of the co-hosts ended up doing a show in Miami as a television host with her. This was Richie Sky is his name. He's wonderful in the space. And I remember when he did that show, or when he went to go do that show, for the year that he had done it, I remembered, like, of course you always want to support the people you work with. And so I'd watch it. I'm like, oh my God, like, he's doing a great job, but she was doing a great job too. So I think she, like, really gets it. Even if
yeah.
on the show she makes her little guest appearances or whatever, and it's not like epic reality TV, I think business wise, she really gets it. So I agree with you on that. Back to flowers and feedback. We're talking about Adriana. You've obviously given flowers. Can you give feedback? Is there anything Adriana could improve in your opinion? And then I'll weigh in on my opinion.
Yeah, I think that, like I said before, I think she should prioritize her friendships more. We saw this season that maybe there's some tension between her and Julia, and like her walking out of her house, storming off, saying she doesn't want to lose a friend over this. And I don't know, I would hate to see another friendship of hers fall by the wayside. So I think that she should maybe focus less on making a good show, even though she has been carrying it on her back, in my opinion. I think she should maybe try to maintain the friendships and care less about making a good storyline, making a good show.
Mm, good point. Good point, actually. Very good points, actually. So, you know what I just realized? Adriana is my Larsa to, not to you. You didn't really have anything bad to say about Larsa, but there's obviously opinions. Whereas, like, what I'm saying is Adriana gets under my skin, but I also understand why. And I also am like, She is so important to be there. But let's focus on the positive first. So, flowers and feedback is the name of the segment. Let's talk about Adriana. A couple things. So, actually, a lot of things I like about her. For one, she the show doesn't go on if season 1, 2, and 3 aren't amazing. Didn't love the bending of the truth with Leah, but
Yeah.
we'll let that pass. But when I think of her, there's a couple things. It's really funny. While she gets under my skin and she's almost like not one of my favorites, I also could say all these things about her. And that is, for one, she's, I believe, the eldest on the cast. And just to even show up for yourself and aging is very difficult in quote unquote Hollywood. And so she's such a beautiful woman. She speaks 5 languages. She's very cultured. You mentioned earlier, art collector, all of these really amazing things. And then, as if that's not good enough, she's like, okay, and yes, is it going to be a top 10 hit or whatever the case? I don't care. She puts herself out there with the music, but it gets better. She had, however, this worked out, you're getting Gloria and Emilio on this show with Adriana, like cool points for eternity in terms of that. Like, that's when you talk about you love the show and Miami and the culture and the vibe, like you're going to sit there and Emilio is going to sort of co-sign, even if he doesn't really co-sign on the music, but it's just like, support. I don't care. Adriana did that. We have got to give her flowers for that. She really, really did that. Now I can't wait to say what I want to give her feedback on. She just drives me nuts, Nate. She drives me nuts. She drives me nuts because I feel like she drives me nuts in a way that, like, again, Larsa drives people, nuts. Like, they don't think she knows how to act or whatever the case. I feel like that's what Adriana does. On one hand, she'll do the very sympathetic, like, oh, if something were to happen to me, no one would find me for days. And you really feel for her with her stories sometimes. Very animated woman. And then she takes that wonderful, like, wow, I really sympathize with her, and I want the best for her. I want her, to fall in love again. And yes, I'd love to learn more about her, her son and, where his life, evolved to. But then she brings such negative energy sometimes to the show, and doesn't even take accountability with it. My feedback would be like, come on, or as Marysol says, ay, por favor. How are you going to go link up with her ex and make it like, it's cool or like it is what it is? There are some things that you do action wise. Your actions are like kind of lame. So I have the hardest time watching her because I could see the goodness of her. I mean, I just said all these wonderful things.
Yeah.
But then it's like, how does she flip up so quickly? How does she have like a mean side? Just it's in there. It's like you can see it. So I would love to see more. Make a music video called Fire. Hire the fun and awesome director and let it be, camp basically. Like I love all of it. I'm eating it all up,
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some feedback there. I guess I'll leave it at that, but she cool. I think moving on to her bestie. Okay, flowers and feedback. What do you think about Julia?
Julia, I love. I think she's having such an amazing, her season 6 has been her best season so far.
She's constantly growing. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's could be a flower for her. She's kind of her constant growth. And also I think she brings a sense of realness to the show. Like I feel like some of the other cast members maybe try to do things for the show. Not that that's a bad thing, but they just say like, oh, this might be a cool thing to show on the show, like going to this restaurant or doing this. And I feel like she just does whatever she wants and she lives her life and she lets the camera follow her. She doesn't follow the camera. And I think that it just brings the show down to earth in an amazing way.
Any feedback for her?
Yeah, I actually do have feedback. I think that she, as much as I love her down to earth and everything, I feel like she should maybe bark back a little bit more. Like we
Mhm.
recently saw Lisa say that Julia has 3 baby daddies and doesn't care about her children or doesn't know where her
Oh
children
gosh.
were. And Julia was just like, "Okay, I don't," like, I feel like she should have just, like, bit back and
Mm.
bite for bite, you know? And I feel like she would be much she would be a better housewife than she already is if
Mm.
she, had some retorts.
Yeah. When we're doing flowers and feedback for her, I will say, I think her flowers for me is mostly growth because while anyone, when they do their first season, it's going to be, such a big thing because your life changes. But for
Mhm,
her, she sort of was in the public eye adjacent through Martina, who you want to talk about flowers. Martina is the flower. I love Martina. More of Martina, please. And so, anyways, to the point of that, she gets her flowers because what is that feeling? You are married to Martina for sure, and she is the person in the limelight, and then now you have your moment. I think it took a while for her to get her legs, so to speak, and I think she's finally, and it's been over seasons. She's growing, um and if we would never really talk physicality amongst the cast members, but can I say I love the shortcut on her.
me
She is
too.
looking regal, she is looking sexy, she is looking like a star. Just, I mean, she obviously was a model and all these things, but um, well, yeah, she's been around the camera, so she knows what she's doing. But anyways, her flowers are that there's a lot of growth there. I only could take so much with the kooky storylines, the goofy Julia,
Mhm.
and where in reality the story that was probably the most impressive, I thought it was really very captivating to learn because you're only looking on the outside looking in of what that was like. She has, her children and they're making her sort of have this empty nest situation and how that just affects somebody. Like that was like very riveting television and how the relationship comes into play in a different way. I loved all of that. So flowers for that. Feedback would be maybe a little bit of what you said, which is well, I don't know, did you say it? Something along the lines of yes, not necessarily like she has to like clap back at Lisa or whatever, but I think we're seeing her question things, like in the earlier seasons, it was like go along to get along. And Adriana is, even though she was part-time, she still was a star of the show. And now it's like, she's coming into her own. So the feedback would be more of that. Like, let's see more of that because we really do want to see her opinion. And it's time, even still, there'll be those moments where she's like, well, I didn't know what Adriana did was going to make so-and-so feel away. And it's like, but you did, but you did. So maybe
Right.
a little bit of growth on that. But I mean, honestly, I would have never thought, gosh, this sounds bad. I would have never thought her first season was 4. And by 5, I was like, I think it's time to demote her. Like, I know, and I would never, but just being honest, I didn't know if it would go anywhere. And it has. And again, she is gorgeous. And I'm kind of into it. Kind of into it. Like, I want to go see the little farm, and it's just there's something there. There's something there. Who would have who would have known? All right, so our last cast member for this segment is Kiki. What are you giving flowers for her?
So, Kiki, I feel like she's been given the short end of the stick. I honestly, we as an audience and fans don't really know that much about her. So it's kind of difficult for me to say, but I think that like Marysol, she is extremely funny. She's like the class clown. I mean that in the best way. Um, I think she brings a sense of lightheartedness and humor to every situation. And I think that's a flower, but also a um, feedback. I think that sometimes she just says random things that like I feel like came out of nowhere, and I feel like they kind of distract from the main story. Like in the bus scene in season 6, with Marysol and Adriana going back and forth and her saying like, "You're just a drunk," and all this stuff. And I heard Kiki in the background saying, "Caca means poop, right?" And I was just like, what is like, where did that come from? What like
What show are you watching?
yeah.
Right.
So I don't know. I think that is her flower, both her flower and her feedback.
Okay. Um, her flower is just like, okay, there's other reality shows that I watch, and it's always like, who is the confessional queen? And I feel like Kiki is a confessional queen. Like, she really comes into her own. I'm just like so giving her flowers for her, and even like whatever producers working with her, and how much fun they must have. Obviously she's much more three-dimensional than just fun and whatever and goofy. And yeah, I guess I agree with you. Like, a little bit of the feedback is like, you know and it's not her choice. Can we see more? You're like, I think there was a moment where she mentioned like, oh, someone was talking about a marital issue, and she was relating like, oh, I went through a thing as well. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, can we see the thing or hear about the thing a little bit more? So the feedback really wasn't within her. It's more, we're just waiting. We're just waiting patiently. I really don't have a lot of feedback with her. I think she's really shown up in a really good way. It'll be interesting to see where she goes and grows. And I want to say this is actually more back to Flower, giving her flowers. While I love Larsa, we know I love Larsa. I talk about it all the time. I thought her comments to Larsa, or her viewpoints rather, like how she felt like, oh, I kind of miss, hanging out. And now, Larsa and Marcus Jordan and that whole thing. I thought that was really cool, because a lot of times people, when they have that type of situation where one of your best friends sort of, starts getting really involved with, it's like a couple situation, you sort of just have to like take it on the chin and be cool about it. And there's nothing wrong with saying, dang, I miss my friend. And I thought that was really cool of her to do. Larsa necessarily didn't really care. Larsa, I love Larsa. But I thought Kiki showed up for herself. Like, it was like, yeah, that's what you do. You just say like, I'm not jealous or anything like that. Got nothing but love for what you got going on. But like, damn, where's my friend at? I thought that was really cool. And another flower is we're seeing even like on Instagram or whatever, she's always so vibrant with her look. I mean, obviously as a model. So I love the way you've talked about design quite a bit on our podcast here. I feel like she really, because she was a model, like there's just a lot the way she plays with design, or aesthetics rather. I love it. I eat it up. And I did say earlier, maybe a show that not everyone is familiar with, House of Style, was a show on MTV with Cindy Crawford. And yes, give Kiki a spin-off where it's all about fashion, and let's go to Paris and let's talk to the designers or whatever. Kiki has so much more, and she should be hosting a show that has to do with fashion, in my opinion. But yeah, no real feedback. She's cool.